What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. To start off this episode, we will talk about some things I heard Eddie Hearn say in an interview with IFL TV Boxing about the Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk fight and what has been holding it back. And in that interview, he stated that Tyson Fury is looking to get $100 million for this fight, when Eddie has only been offering him about 50 to 60 million. Eddie has also said that he doesn't think the fight is as big as Tyson thinks it is. Now, what's your guys' opinion on this? Do you think it's worth that kind of money? And also about what Eddie had also said, do you think the fight is as big as Tyson thinks it is? Now, in some other news, Tyson has came out and offered Usyk a 70-30 purse split, which Usyk has reportedly accepted as long as Fury donates $1 million towards the Ukraine war efforts. Now, I have heard that the fight is being finalized for an April 20th date, and Tyson has also came out and stated that he has officially started camp. The only thing that's been holding the fight back from being officially announced is I heard they're still looking for a venue and which platform will the fight be on. And both sides have officially notified the WBA that they have agreed on terms, which pretty much cancels the Alexander Usyk Dubois fight from happening. Also in the news, it has come to light about some clauses in the Gervonta Davis Ryan Garcia fight. The two of the clauses are the fight obviously will be contested at 136 pounds, and there is a 10-pound rehydration limit. Now, something we know is that Ryan hasn't fought under 138 pounds in 2 years, as both the Javier Fortuna and Emmanuel Tego fight were not at 135 pounds. This is the first time Gervonta Davis has added these types of clauses in a contract. What do you guys think about it? How will it affect the fight? In my opinion, these two clauses are very important as it's not Ryan's natural weight anymore. Now in MMA, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo has now officially been finalized for UFC 288 on May the 6th. We'll talk more about this fight as it nears. We will start off by talking about the Bellator main event. Yes, Usman Nurmagomedov is that guy. A quick fight, but an amazing one. An amazing question mark kick lands on Benson Henderson, ultimately leading to Usman taking his back, and after a little bit of struggling on the ground, locking in a rear naked choke, ultimately leading to Benson tapping out and simultaneously retiring, ending his legendary MMA career. His career spanned 17 years across many different companies. 3-time champion, he was the UFC champion, Bellator champion, and WEC champion. An amazing career. Now, I did predict an Usman victory by decision. I don't think anyone would have thought Benson would have tapped out. He lost by submission for the first time in almost 10 years. Usman will continue in the Bellator Grand Prix, fighting the winner of the May 12th Bellator card, Mansour Bonari or Brent Primus. On the same card this past Friday, Alexander Shabil stopped his opponent Tafiq Musayev in a controversial fashion in the third round of their fight. To continue in the Grand Prix, he'll face the winner of Patricky Pitbull and AJ McKee. We know that fight is happening. We don't know the venue or the date for that fight. Hopefully it happens soon. Next, we'll get into the DAZN boxing card. We didn't really talk about the co-main event at all during the preview, but let me tell you, it was a quick fight. It ended in 3 rounds due to injury. We never really see this type of injury in the sport. But it's just something you never really want to see happen to anybody in general, not just in the sport world. It did look like if his ankle was pretty badly broken. Nonetheless, congrats to Dvalishvili. They didn't really talk about any of his next opponents or who he'd want to fight next. Now, as for the main event, I feel as if Quillin started the fight off by really surprising Pacheco, in my opinion, as he was fighting behind his jab, even wobbling Pacheco a couple times. Then Pacheco followed that up by coming out in the second round, hurting Quillin. You know, Jose Benavidez Sr. talked to him in the corner and told him to let go of that right hand, and that's ultimately what he did in that second round, hurting Quillin. All this led up to a Diego Pacheco 4th round knockout. The knockout started by a perfectly placed, beautiful left hook to the body, hurting Quillin, dropping him. He was never really able to recover from that. He stood up. They probably fought another 15 seconds, but Pacheco got him out there with a flurry of punches. It wasn't a perfect performance by Pacheco, but it was still a huge statement made. Also, Campbell Hatton won his fight by decision. I've been seeing a lot of things go around about Campbell Hatton, a lot of people criticizing him, but I feel like if they're just comparing him to his dad, and his dad was a great, great fighter. You know, he's still young, so we'll give him time to develop. People are saying he'll be nothing more than a British national champion, but who knows? Next, we will be talking about the UFC fight night card. We'll start off by talking about the 2 prospects I highlighted at the end of last episode. The first one being Cedricus Dumas. He lost his fight to Josh Firmed, as I think he really wasn't expecting Josh to be as good on the ground as he was on his feet. He clipped Cedricus a couple times and ultimately submitted Cedricus. Next, we'll talk about Said Nurmagomedov. He also lost a very, very close decision. I think personally he won the fight, as I feel he had a better first and 3rd round than Jonathan Martinez. But, I mean, there's nothing I could say that would change that decision, so we'll just go on to the next topic. Now we'll get into the Harris versus Gooden fight, as I talked about in the last episode. Carlston weighed in at 169 pounds, while Gooden came in at 177 pounds, 7 pounds overweight. It was a very good fight. Carlston won a very good unanimous decision. He did get hurt a couple times, but they were both slugging it out, especially at the end of the first. Then Carlston really just controlled him on the floor. I don't think he really threatened any submissions, mostly just control time. Nice fight. Some other things on the card were a crazy kick landed on Tyson Nam by Bruno Silva, ending the fight. Very reminiscing of Michael Chandler landing his kick on Tony Ferguson, of course. Another big thing that happened on the fight was Davy Grant landing a crazy reverse triangle choke on Rafael Assunção, ultimately ending Rafael's career as he retired at the end of the fight. That's the first time I had ever probably seen a reverse triangle choke. It was a very, very crazy submission I never thought would happen. As for the main event, Piotr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili things started getting real chippy at the weigh-ins, getting a little physical. Yan did push Merab. As for the fight, it started off as a typical Merab fight, as he started shooting for takedowns with little hits in the clinch as Piotr was attacking Merab's legs with kicks. Merab started to overwhelm Yan with pressure, really hurting Yan with kicks as well. I think he really did hurt Piotr Yan's left leg with a series of kicks in the second round. Piotr just really couldn't do anything because of Merab's fight style, leading to a unanimous decision victory. It got to the point where Merab stopped attempting takedowns, and stood with Yan. he didn't completely abandon the takedowns, as he has broken the UFC attempted takedowns records with 48. The previous record was 34, held by Cain Velasquez. He did only land 11 of those takedowns, but you know, that's Merab's style. He doesn't care if he lands the takedowns. He just wants to attempt them. What will Merab do next is a crazy question, and it all depends on what happens on the Henry versus Aljo fight on May the 6th. Maybe Merab versus Umar. But let me know what you guys think about what happens with Merab. Maybe him versus Umar, like I said. Maybe him versus O'Malley. O'Malley really doesn't want to fight another contender. He wants to fight for the championship. But, you know, what do you guys think is best to do with Merab? Now we'll get into the Showtime main event with Tim Tszyu and Tony Harrison. Fight. Yes, the fight started off with Tony boxing very, very well, using his jab while Tim would pressure him. And yes, Tim was clipping Tony very good in the first round. But I don't believe it was enough to win Tim that round, as I do believe that is a round Tony won. But other than that, I didn't see Tony winning any other round besides that. I just feel as if Tim's pressure was affecting Tony's boxing. Every time Tony would try to use his speed, his boxing, it just felt as if he would be right up against the ropes. It just felt as if a matter of time before Tim knocked him out. And that time did come in the 9th round. After multiple right hands, Tim followed up with a flurry of punches, a lot of uppercuts. And the knockdown did not look that well. You seen Tony like leaned over on the ropes, almost holding on to the ropes. And ultimately, the ref called it. Tony was not able to continue. It was a great fight by Tim. There was just something about Tony that looked off. After the first round, a lot of people were noticing it. His corner man, his brother, he would ask him what was wrong, how was he feeling, and you couldn't hear whatever Tony was saying. But that doesn't take away from anything that Tim did on this night. He looked amazing. It was an amazing performance, a knockout. It now seems as if Charlo and Tim's fight will be able to go ahead as scheduled for later on this year, I believe in a couple months. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. See you guys later on this week as we preview a stacked UFC 286 card.